Welcome to Buy to Let Tax 1. My name is John Bullock, landlord, agent, investor and accountant, and I'd like to thank you for taking your time out today to watch this video. Do you realise simply by watching this video today you're in the top 10% of all landlords? Only the very best in any field will take time out to learn new skills. Over these next 3 videos, which will last approximately 10 minutes, I'll introduce strategies to protect your wealth as an income tax paying landlord and introduce you strategies to increase and grow your wealth. Over these 3 videos, I'll explore your options as a buy-to-let taxpayer and help you make the best choices for you. More importantly, I will clearly explain why incorporation is not necessarily in your best interest, regardless of what your accountant may have said to you. Allow me to explain my journey and why I'm talking to you today. We used to have a saying, safe as houses. But since George Osborne has brought about these tax changes and the present incumbent has done nothing about changing it, perhaps the saying should be, safe as houses depending on the business structure you use. Because that business structure is all important. It's the difference between the government putting their hand further into your pockets or not stopping them from going as deep as otherwise they may have done. I remember a time my parents said to me, bricks and mortar, that's the way to go. Safe as houses, you need to buy a property. But this government has managed to take an asset and turn it into a potential liability. How? Well, it's actually possible and feasible now to pay tax on a loss-making property. And that is because of the way the figures are now used to calculate your profits. There was a time when you were taxed and were able to deduct your mortgage interest relief, and now you're taxed on turnover, the rent that you receive. Now, many of you will probably say, I'm not a higher rate taxpayer, it doesn't affect me. But boy, you've really got a big problem at this point in time if that's what you think. Because of the way it's calculated, many people, without realising it, will be pushed into a higher rate tax position. Let's just remind ourselves, over £43,000, you're a higher rate taxpayer. Over £60,000, and if you have children under 18, you'll lose your child benefit. Over £123,000, you've lost all your personal allowances. I hear somebody say, well, I don't earn anything like that. But you only have to have a few properties and maybe another source of income. And you quickly find yourself actually with an income from the government's position of over £123,000. The perversity of Osborne's tax is that in some instances, due to the loss of allowances, it would be cheaper tax-wise to leave your property empty than to rent it out. What a perversity, especially when many investors were simply trying to future-proof their family's security by investing in property at a time when pension returns are so poor. So, as a landlord, as an agent, as an accountant, understanding the implications of the tax, but unsure of a remedy, I went on the road, attending tax seminars, the Tenant Tax Forum in London, emailed other accountants, spoke to other accountants, watched social media, albeit for the social media aspect, it was very much like being back at university, taking notes on tax strategies and looking at the best possible outcome. It came to my attention many accountants were advising on incorporation, which I believe to be an awful move, and I should explain why in my next video, Buy to Let Tax 2, tax planning. But for sure, one of the things I realised was this: not many accountants deal with stamp duty land tax. It's nearly always your conveyancer or solicitor, not your accountant. And to that degree, most accountants have little understanding of the way the tax works. I include myself in that. That was until I was faced with this problem, with a restriction on mortgage interest relief. I had to find a solution. or watch the wealth I had created erode through taxation. I wrote to many accountants, and some were big companies, and most accountants didn't even perceive there to be a problem. And if they did, because the clients were not complaining today, they were going to do nothing about it. In other words, they were going to react, not be proactive. They were content to react. So come January 2019, when we get our first tax bill as a consequence of these tax changes, many people, many landlords, many investors will realise there's a problem. And at that point, I think from January 19, maybe to about April 19, we'll suddenly have a lot of properties come onto the market, a glut of properties come onto the market, and a fire sale approach because of the losses people are recording. People down south, as opposed to people up north, people down south will pay a lot more tax because their houses are a lot more expensive. The rents they receive are a lot more expensive. So they'll have a different problem to the problem that people up north will experience, where the rents aren't so great, but they've never quite recovered the capital values. So the problem is through the tax change, but there are going to be two completely different types of problems that people will experience. But the solutions will remain the same, and I'll discuss these options in Buy-to-Let Tax 2. Thank you for taking your time out to watch Buy-to-Let Tax 1.